Hi, wonderful being. How do you feel? The subject of the episode today is accept yourself. Disclaimer. I have written this content months ago already. It has nothing to do with the current circumstances in the world, and yet it does. That is because this issue is timeless. And I'm very aware of the given that a lot of you know what I'm talking about, but don't dare to speak out and even admit to yourself. Why won't you stand in your own power and instead throw your hands in the air and let others run your life in a destructive way where you lose your own power? What does anyone gain by that? We were taught decade after decade, and from generation upon generation, to above all, in particular, not trust yourself. Oh yeah, people say, it is hereditary. It is so-called hereditary since it was delivered from generation upon generation. Habits, behavior, belief systems, and so on. No wonder if you perpetually put something in there time after time, you will have the same result time after time, or eventually have a certain result. That is common sense. So why still people feel surprised and shocked by that, instead of saying, I want and choose different results, so I create them and act on it and anticipate, as long as it takes to transform the outcome. The choice that others make or made doesn't affect your reality. And that is exactly what we're talking about. There's no such thing as chronic disease. Ruud, my partner, in a nutshell says, you're only chronically ill when you're dead. If you want to know what he means by that and what he has to tell more about it, just visit his website wellnessforus.com and contact him. It will really open doors and a new world for you in beneficial ways. And my philosophy is that as long as you're really willing and do everything and find the answers and open up to them, and also to support when needed, you can really change it. I'm talking out of experience. My experience doesn't limit itself to this particular space and or in time, though. That's another subject on itself. But what I want to say is that what you believe and what you put into your mouth, what you nourish yourself with in many ways, and your behavior, and especially your choices, also does affect your DNA, so physically. For example, stress really literally affects and in the long term changes your DNA. Peace, on the contrary, and clean living in many ways also affects your DNA in a more beneficial way. So you really literally create yourself in some way, or at least affect your DNA, your health and well-being, for the largest, greatest part yourself during your life by making certain decisions and the way you live, your lifestyle. And also when you choose to take things from outside. You can always start making other choices though. There's no judgment in it. Only cause and effect. And that is where consciousness and conscious living comes into play. And that is also exactly the first subject of the series I made. Play more. You can rewatch all the videos of this series, of course. And I chose and created the sequence of the subjects in a certain order for a reason. I share my experiences and what I know. And that doesn't mean you have to do the same things as I do. The same as I do. You don't have to do what I do. In fact, I encourage people to become their authentic selves, to come back to their own core and stand in their power. Some people told me, and I've also heard that other people say, not directly to me though, that lately they find me communicating quite fiercely because I am more explicit in what I express. They say they worry about me. I will put you all at ease and will reassure you all there's nothing to worry about. I communicate this explicitly because I deeply, really care. Throughout the years, though, people defied my boundaries time after time. And at one point, you really have to make clear it is enough and that they are really crossing the lines. What they don't understand, though, is that actually they're very much disrespecting themselves by behaving that way. On the other hand, I have also throughout the years experienced a lot of people that felt or feel miserable in their lives and constantly tell me about it. I'm all ears and I listen to people when they want to clear their hearts and tell their story. I have a long breath, a lot of empathy, and I have a lot of space for beings. I again do also have and set boundaries, though. If they keep complaining and do nothing about it, or all and the best they can to change it, even if that means opening up to support, to in collaboration enhance their lives and life in general, I say stop complaining and really actively do something about it to change the result. It really is true that some people can only escape their misery by communicating to them in a more explicit way that wakes them up at once after a long time of frankly being kind of numbed and apathetic. Since I do communicate from a place of caring without putting them personally down and torturing them, I don't really care what people think of it. So for people that for some reason want to keep running around in or maintain unbeneficial, vicious circles, please then stop complaining. And otherwise, stop bothering me. Because I really have other things to do, and it really saves time to work with and support other beings. It all, in the end, comes down to choice. You always have a choice, even if that means leaving unbeneficial circumstances behind. There's no judgment in that. It is just acknowledging what is and anticipating, acting on that. It actually transmutes your life, which means transform to something way more beneficial. Respect yourself and the other instead of only the other. So if you are pulled into a situation where they force you or try to force you to disrespect yourself, set your boundaries and take the action that is appropriate or suitable in that particular moment with the relevant context and circumstances. And please stop constantly comparing it to whatever other thing or situation has nothing to do with it. Keep the attention where it should be, where it needs to be, where it belongs. As I said before, I encourage to take life seriously. To me, that means honoring life. Life, indeed, instead of lifelessness, catering to misery, deception, etc. Which means something else than denying what just is. Since only when you acknowledge circumstances, you can work with that matter and change the outcome, the results for the better. There's another thing that is deeply rooted in people, and that a lot of people really feel inferior about. That is money. And then there's also this group that made a lot of money who think, what have you accomplished in your life anyway? And so why should we listen to or even have the slightest appreciation for you? As if everything in life, in our lives, is about and depends on money. Being extremely overly attached to and getting your self-worth from money and material aspects is a sign of disconnectedness. It is as connecting, or better said, attaching to and holding on to lifelessness. Next to that, what do they know about me? And have they asked me for the right information? No. So every time you let yourself be misguided by people that talk you down and say you have contributed nothing or too little, or accomplished nothing or too little in your life, because you didn't accumulate financial currency and material things that actually add nothing or barely anything to your life and that of others, or whatsoever, ask yourself, what do they really know about me and what I'm able to and achieve in my life? And do they actually really care about that? In this last episode of this particular series, of which I planned the topics years ago already, I want to share something with you I've been saying for decades. The biggest dis-ease in the world, on the planet, is emotional dis-ease. And too few attention goes to there. I don't understand why people really think that is a scary and dangerous place to go, while the opposite is true. It is the place where the solution of all problems and all dilemmas can be found, where you find inner peace, faith, and tremendous resilience. The mind has nothing to do with it. It is only a servant or assistant of the heart. The heart doesn't judge the mind at all, though, since the heart knows everything and everyone has its and his and her own specific and unique talents and honors them. As long as these specific characteristics are never used to harm someone, yourself, and other beings, that place is really nothing to fear for. Never let anyone tell you the heart is deceitful or something or someone to fear. These people are invited to get to learn to know the heart better and truly experience what wonders it has in store. Stop waiting for others, though. Again, take good care of yourself, and then automatically you're good for your environment. So put off the mind and let your heart, your abundant core, take over. Enjoy your life. Live healthy. This series has been a fraction of what we want to and will share and exchange with you. So if you want, until next time.